So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to talk to you today about my engine on Jenny J. Always been a noisy beast from when I first bought her. Relatively new engine, 2018 Beta Marine 3-cylinder, 30 horsepower in our Moody 31 Mark II. So I had a little bit experience with a similar engine in our last boat because I had a Beta 25 put in, and that was a Moody 27, so kind of not a dissimilar thing. And when that went in, it was good. It was quiet as far as diesel engines go, smooth. I was very, very pleased with it. It was great, and to find out that this Moody 31 had such a noisy engine, I couldn't quite work it out. I bought the boat anyway. They had a survey. It all seemed fine. The engine itself looked really good. I couldn't see any issues with it, and the surveyor didn't seem to think there was any issues with it. It's just noisy all the time, always on and off. Certain aspects of it, particularly starting it up. Starting it up and idling is fine. Put it into gear, fine. Lift the revs to 1,000 RPM, all sorts of vibrations and noise going on. Get it up to 1,500 RPM in gear. It's kind of smoothing out. Not too bad. It's okay. 2,000 RPM, kind of our default cruising speed really, which gives us about 5 knots. It's okay, but there's this constant vibration that didn't seem to be connected particularly to the engine itself. And I should say that we've maintained the engine, and whenever I open the engine cover and look inside while it's running, it's smooth. It seems very happy. You can see that it's just running really well. The engine itself doesn't, it's not kind of bumping around or doing very strange things at whatever revs. It seems, well, some revs definitely looked a little bit uncomfortable, but generally okay. Now, I say at this point, because I don't want you to get too bored if you don't want to, jump to the end, the last chapter, and it'll tell you what it's about. But for those of you who want to go this little exploration that I've been going through for the last few years to find out what's going on, then you might find it interesting, the process that I had to go through to get to where I've got, because it's just taken a long time. I haven't been overly worried about it, given, as I said, that the engine itself is fine. It's been really well maintained. Oil changes, I've had engineers look at it. It's in itself, it's fine. So yeah, jump ahead if you want to get to what's gone on so far. And I haven't completely cured the issue, but it is an awful lot better than it was. The first port of call, if you'll excuse the pun, was to look at it. When it came out of the water for the first time in the winter of 2023, after the first season, we had trying to work out where this noise was coming from. I was heads down in the cockpit locker. I was in the engine bay trying to get my head in different places to see if I could identify what was going on. I was listening from up in the bow, and out on deck, different parts of the cockpit. What was I listening to? it is, and you may be familiar with this sort of thing. It's very hard to identify where certain types of noises and vibrations were coming from. So when I got her back to Dell Quay, where she spends every winter out of the water, one of the engineers came down and very briefly before she kind of, because she's a twin keel boat, she just sits on the slipway there until the tide goes out, and then they bring their tractor in and pull her out. Before that happened, they had a quick look on board, nosed around, couldn't really see what was going on either. I mean, somebody put their weight on the back of the engine and it did start to make a lot more noise, which was a brief thing. We really weren't sure. Anyway, the boat came out of the water, and obviously the first things we looked at were the propeller itself, the P bracket. We looked at the rope cutter. Was there kind of something going on with that? The cutlass bearing. I mean, these are all things that you might look at, because, as I say, we were fairly confident in the engine itself, and in fact, it's turned out that there's nothing wrong with the engine itself. It's absolutely fine, and it's the engine itself and the gearbox, for that matter. Very confident that those are absolutely fine. It was what was going on behind that we were looking at, so we did do a few things. We took the cutlass bearing. We looked at the cutlass bearing. That seemed okay. It was a little bit warm, but not that much. So we thought, okay, that's probably all right. Took the rope cutter off. Did some, took that apart and repaired it. Actually, it was worn, so they did do that. I thought, oh gosh, that could be it. The propeller itself is a 2-blade propeller. Nothing very exciting. It's just very standard fixed 2-blade propeller. Looked fine. Doesn't look as if it's imbalanced in any way. It wasn't kind of corroded, especially. So anyway, I wasn't overly worried, and she went back in the water, hoping maybe it was the rope cutter thing, and then we would perhaps look into it while she was on the water. Anyway, got her going again. No significant change. Still these vibrations that were happening. Part of it was just general noise that seemed to be going on, and part was a kind of cyclic vibration that was happening. And then I kind of looked into it, and I went down to the heads and listened in there at one point. Thought there's definitely something going on here. And this was second summer, there's definitely something going on in here. Is it just the engine's noisy? But there seemed to be something literally tapping the wall, the kind of partition between the heads and the engine, which is right next to the heads. It seemed to be just something tapping against the wall there. I thought, well, there's got to be something actually in the engine. So I looked in the engine bay, and there's nothing, no sense of anything going on in there at all. Anyway, she came out of the water again, and this time a friend of mine, very kindly, who's actually an engineer, and he's had similar issues with boats in the past, and he's worked on them himself. He had a Sigma 36, which he said had a similar thing going on, and he said the first thing we looked at, he said, look, the R&D coupling is really worn, so that should be changed whatever happens. So this was the next winter. So this was 2024, so this last winter, and we took the prop shaft out, changed the R&D, we slid the prop shaft back, changed the R&D coupling, and also Richard had determined actually that the engine was out of alignment. So I thought, yay, we've found the problem. It's bound to be that, because he thought, well, I wonder if the prop shaft could be twisting slightly and just tapping against the and I'm not sure what it's the hole that goes through the boat out to where the P bracket is. It's the kind of that tube in, fiberglass tube. Could it be tapping? And I'd got some video, and if you just look at this little section here, you'll see it does look as if there's vibrations going on there. And anyway, yeah, we thought let's get the engine aligned. That's got to be a pretty significant potential issue. So Richard very kindly did that. I mean, he lined it up, and it turns out he lined it up really, really well, which was brilliant. We put it all back together, and then I did talk to one of the guys at the yard as well, and I thought there was another couple of Moody 31s right next to. They tend to like lining boats up with similar types in the yard, which is kind of quite nice. You get to know people, your neighbours, in the yard. And I had a good rattle of their prop shafts in the P brackets, and sure enough, their prop shafts were tighter in the P bracket and the cutlass bearing. So I said to the guys in the yard, look, just come and check out Jenny J's P bracket again, the cutlass bearing. So sure enough, we did give it a good wiggle and determined that actually there really was a lot more play than there should be. So out came the prop shaft again, changed the cutlass bearing, and there was still some play in it. So they took the prop shaft out properly, and amazingly, that prop shaft was probably the original prop shaft actually, was really quite warm. Something like 0.4 of a millimetre, I think. I've even got it here. Look. You won't be able to see it on the video, but here is where the cutlass bearing is, and actually running your hand up and your fingers up, and you can feel that it's worn. And I have measured it, and it is about a 0.4 mil difference, and the new cutlass bearing wasn't holding it tightly. So new prop shaft as well. So she's had new cutlass bearing, new prop shaft. Check the prop shaft, the propeller itself. Obviously, it's got an anode on the propeller prop shaft as well, but that was new and even. Engine alignment sorted out. What else could it be? Went back in the water, and I thought, wow, this is brilliant. It's working. It's smooth and fabulous. And the first 15 minutes, 10 minutes, all seemed good, and then suddenly this noise started to pick up again, and I thought, oh no, it's still not right. It's still not right. And sure enough, the noise carried on. The vibrations, and I thought everything is so good in this boat. We've looked at all the stuff that really matters. I can't work it out. We went to Cherbourg and actually motored there and back with this noisy engine, but I wasn't too worried. There was no issues. It was perfectly good. There's no water coming in. It's like it's all fine. And then I was on a sailing trip, a couple of weeks of sailing this summer, still puzzling over this problem, thinking, why did I listen again in the heads? This tapping against the bulkhead there. I'm thinking, what is going on? I just couldn't figure it out. And then I thought, okay, engine mounts, that's going to be the only thing that I could think of. They looked fine. They looked perfectly fine from the front of the boat, or from the main cabin. And when you look down behind, as you can see in this image, you can see down inside behind. Again, it looked okay. And then I looked a bit closer. I got a powerful light and my phone into the back of the front port engine mount, and there was this gunk in there, and there's a metal cowling on it, which you can see in this picture, which seemed really close to the bottom of the plate. And I thought, I found the problem. It's just the engine mount. Now, there's probably loads of you who say, oh, idiot, that'd be the first thing I'd look at. Well, because I am probably an idiot and I'm not terribly experienced in these things. Anyway, I think that's that. I think. Well, we know that's part of the problem because then I got the guys at Dell Quay. I ran her up there, and at the top of the tide, they did a fantastic job. In an hour and a half, they whipped the old ones out, put new ones in, which we'd pre-ordered, and the problem has almost gone away. All of that noise and all the vibrations at low revs has gone. It's smooth and quiet. There is still this rhythmic tapping going on. Yeah, it's sounding so much better, but there's still this rhythmic tapping that cycles through. We hear it there. It's been there a long time. I'm not worried about it. It's just something. But underneath that, the engine is so quiet and so good at all revs now. I almost don't mind. It's like it's such a massive improvement, but the tapping's still there. So I'm thinking that it must be. I can only think that it must be one of the two rear engine mounts. So I'm going to get the guys to change those anyway this winter, which won't be quite such an easy job, but that I think will solve it. But yeah, this is just really about one of those problems that's really difficult to identify. Well, for me, and actually, to be fair, no one else got to it very quickly either. So it isn't just me, although I do think it does seem fairly obvious that the engine mounts might have been an issue. The trouble is, it wasn't easy to see. They did look perfectly okay from the front. It was because one of them was tilted back slightly, which is probably not well installed. Something to deal with at a later date when maybe you have to take the engine out properly and realign it on the beds. But it's all such a hell of a lot better. So that's where we're at. That's what I thought I'd talk to you about today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've changed my channel slightly, as you might have noticed if any of you've been watching any of my videos. I've changed it slightly. It is really nearly all about me and the boat and sailing and maintaining the boat, so that's what it's moved to. So I'm taking it a bit more seriously. Please like and subscribe, as everyone says on these channels, and I want to say thank you very much for watching, and if you've watched them before, thank you for watching those as well, because I hadn't yet started this kind of this habit I need to get into of thanking people for watching, and I start with that now. So thank you very much.